Welcome, friends. It is a joy to be here with you commemorating HPV's life and work. And today I want to share with you a few thoughts about the role of theosophy in social change. We all are aware of the difficult times that we are going through in the world, not only the wars that are happening in several places in the world, but also the inequality, the difficulties, the conflict, the polarization. So theosophists who are concerned about human welfare often feel unable to deal with this problem, often feel that they don't have enough power to help. But this is not necessarily true. I mean, this may be true in connection to producing immediate results, but actually HPV, her adept teachers, as well as all theosophical leaders, have always said that there is a great power in theosophy to go to the root of the human problem. So in this brief talk, we are going to explore a few quotes from Blavatsky on this. Let us start with one from the Key to Theosophy, where she says there is an inquirer, do you take any part in politics? And Blavatsky answers, as a society, we carefully avoid them for the reasons given below. And those reasons are that to seek to achieve political reforms before we have effected a reform in human nature is like putting new wine into old bottles. In the past, the old bottles would spoil the new wine that you put there. And she says, no lasting political reform can ever be achieved with the same selfish people at the head of affairs as of old. So it is clear that the problem here is not so much a problem of political systems. We have tried all kinds of political systems, and we tend to end up in a similar place, a place of inequality, a place of an unfair distribution of wealth, a place of conflict, confrontation, violence. So what she's saying here is that the real reform has to be an inner reform, has to be a reform of the human nature. So she continues, it is not violence that can ever ensure bread and comfort for all, nor is the kingdom of peace and love, of mutual help and charity, and food for all, to be conquered by a cold, reasoning, diplomatic policy, but only by the weakening of the feeling of separateness. And such weakening can only be achieved by a process of inner enlightenment. So you see, she's saying here that by all our political means, we are not going to be able to ensure bread and comfort for all, or peace and love, etc. Precisely because the problem is in the human heart. The problem is in our selfishness and ambition and cruelty and violence, etc. The only way to ensure any of this is to weaken the feeling of separateness that is so strong in most of humanity. And such weakening can only be achieved by a process of inner enlightenment. So if we as an organization focus on this process of inner enlightenment, first by applying it to ourselves, and then by sharing this with those who are awakened to this idea of the possibility of being acting in the world with a mind and a heart that are guided by the spiritual. If we as a society can do this, then we are actually corroding the roots of evil and inequalities. So she says, make people feel and recognize in their innermost hearts what is their real true duty to all humanity. And then once they recognize this, every old abuse of power, every iniquitous law in the national policy, based on human, social, or political selfishness will disappear of itself. So you see, if we can continue to help humanity to grow in this direction, because I think the Theosophical Society has greatly impacted the spiritual life of many people in humanity. So if we continue to do this, then we will be creating the foundations by which naturally all these problems that we deal with, like the abuse of power and the unfair laws, etc., will be solved by themselves. And she says, it is only by the close brotherly union of men's inner selves, of soul solidarity, of the growth and development of that feeling which makes one suffer when one thinks of the suffering of others, that the reign of justice and equality for all can ever be inaugurated. This is the first of the three fundamental objects for which the Theosophical Society was established. So I think that we are part of a wonderful organization which, in a silent way, is working to address the root of the human program. And I hope that remembering HPV and her message can inspire us to continue with this work.